Hi, it's Sylvester, and I wanted to talk about my body slash my physical appearance because I have been trying pretty much my whole life to learn to love my body and accept it for what it is and to learn to love my appearance. And there have been times in my life where I have loved my appearance and I thought that I was genuinely a very good looking person. But for the most part, for most of my life, I've been a deeply insecure person when it comes to my body, my physical appearance, my face. I don't think that I'm hideous. I don't think I'm ugly. It's just that there are things that I've always kind of wanted to change about my body. And so I wanted to talk about that. I will also talk about the things that I like about my body in this video because there are some things that I like about my body, but for the most part, I am just going to be talking about my insecurities when it comes to my physical appearance. Now, I do have a video on this channel where I talk about things that I'm insecure about, things I'm self-conscious about, but this is specifically physical appearance stuff that I'm self-conscious about. So it's different from that video. Now, the first thing that I'm insecure about when it comes to my body is the fact that I am a very sweaty guy. I feel like I sweat more than the average person, and it's very gross, and it makes me very uncomfortable sweating through my shirt. I have to change my shirt like 3 times a day in the summertime because I just sweat through my shirt. And it's unpleasant. It's embarrassing. It makes me deeply insecure. I went to Subway, not sponsored, obviously, but I went to Subway a couple weeks ago, and I walk in. It's like the Subway downtown, so it's like a 20-minute walk for me. And so I walked for 20 minutes in the sun in the summertime. It was hot. I was sweaty, and when I got to Subway, my shirt was drenched in sweat. And the person working at Subway was like, did you just come out? Did you just go for a run, or is it just hot outside? And it made me so insecure because they were obviously commenting on the fact that I had sweat through my shirt and pointing it out to me. And it was very embarrassing because it's like, no, I didn't go for a run. I just went for a 20-minute walk and I sweat through my shirt. And so, yeah, it's very embarrassing, and I'm very insecure about it. And I don't think that there's really much that can be done about excessive sweating other than changing my shirt a lot. But that's it's something that I wish I could change about my body. Next thing I want to talk about is my weight. Now, I know when I say that there are things I wish I could change about my body, weight is something that I do have some control over, and I've struggled with my weight basically my entire life. And so it's one of those things where I'm not looking for dieting tips. I'm not looking for weight loss tips. I'm not looking for anyone in the comments to tell me to just lose weight, because I feel like most people at this point know that it's not that simple. People who struggle with their weight, it really is more difficult. It's way easier said than done to just lose weight. You know what I mean? And I'm on medication that makes it difficult for me to lose weight. I have been skinny at times in my life, and unfortunately, because I was raised in a society that praises thinness, that worships skinniness, I always felt way more comfortable in my body when I was skinny than I do when I'm fat. And this is unfortunate because the times when I have been skinny, it's not been for healthy reasons. I've often been at my unhealthiest when I was at my skinniest. Like, for example, in 2023, I was quite skinny, but that's because I was going through a mental breakdown and I just wasn't eating because I just wasn't hungry, because I was just so mentally ill that I had no appetite. And so I was skinny, but like mentally, I was probably the worst I've ever been in my entire life in 2023. So as much as I wish I could have the body that I had in 2023, I am not going to sacrifice my mental health in order to get said body back. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't think I've ever been healthy skinny. I don't think I've ever been skinny for reasons other than extreme mental illness problems and extreme dieting / eating disorders. So it is unfortunate because, again, I do really, really like how my body looks when I'm skinny. I just think that I just think I'm really attractive when I'm skinny, and I have a much harder time finding myself attractive when I'm fat. And I know that this is something that I need to unlearn. I know that this is something that society has taught me, and it's not correct for me to worship thinness the way that I do. But, it's a process. It takes a lot of effort to unlearn social conditioning. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's something that I wish I could just snap my fingers and just be skinny. I wish I could just eat whatever I wanted and still be skinny. I just wish I could be skinny in a way that was healthy, which, again, I'm not looking for dieting tips. I'm not looking for weight loss tips. I know that there are probably going to be trolls out there who are like, well, if you hate being fat, just stop being fat. It really, really isn't that simple. Anyways, next thing I want to talk about is my hair. I have been deeply insecure about my hair my entire life. It's the texture of my hair is like, it's very frizzy. It's very curly, but not in the kind of curl that society has told me is an attractive kind of curly. Like it's not like young Taylor Swift curly. It's like, it's a kind of curly that I've been taught since I was born is not appealing. And it's, again, really hard for me to unlearn that. Now, there have been times in my life where I've been proud of my curly hair. There have been times in my life where I genuinely liked my hair. But for the most part, most of my life, I've always wanted to have either straight hair or, again, like big barrel curls or like beach waves or, the kind of hair that society tells me is attractive. My hair is not the kind of hair that society seems to think is good looking. And that sucks. Another thing about my hair that I'm deeply insecure about is the fact that I'm losing my hair. That's an unfortunate side effect of being on testosterone. If you don't know, I am a trans man and I am on testosterone. And one of the side effects is balding. And so it's worth it. Like, I wouldn't give up being on testosterone for the world. But I do really hate that I'm losing my hair, because as much as I've always been insecure about my hair, I'm much more insecure about not having it, So there's that. I also used to hate the color of my hair. I used to dye my hair a lot. It's funny because I actually really like dark hair. My hair is like technically dark brown, but it comes off as black. And I used to like black hair when I was a kid. I really liked black hair, but for some reason I didn't like it on me. I always wanted to be blonde. Now, I'm at an age where I have come to terms with the fact that I am not blonde, and I feel like I'm okay with the color of my hair. I mean, like I still liked how it looked when I would dye it light brown or when I would dye it red or when I would dye it other colors. I liked how it looked, but I'm not saying that you have to be insecure about your hair color in order to dye it. It's part of personal expression, artistic expression or whatever. Like dyeing your hair doesn't necessarily mean you're insecure about your hair color. It's just sometimes you want a different color hair, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm totally open to the possibility of dyeing my hair again in the future. But I do like it. I do like the color of my hair. And so, there's that. Another thing I'm insecure about is this wrinkle on my forehead. I have a very wrinkly forehead. I have very expressive eyebrows, and I have this very, very deep wrinkle on my forehead. Now, if I was rich, I probably would get Botox. I wouldn't want a ton of Botox because I still want to use my eyebrows. I still want to be expressive. But I would just want to get rid of this wrinkle if that was at all possible, because I am very self-conscious about that forehead wrinkle. I'm also very self-conscious about my eyebrows. I feel like they have thinned out as I've gotten older. They used to be a lot thicker, and I'm not really sure what happened. Like, most of my life, I was self-conscious about having really thick, bushy eyebrows. In fact, when I was in elementary school, there was this mean kid who used to call me Sasquatch because I had these really thick, bushy eyebrows. And also just because I was a very hairy person. I've always been a pretty hairy person. But it was mostly because of the eyebrows. And so I like plucked the absolute living crap out of my eyebrows for a long time. And they were like so thin. And then it took me forever to grow them back. And then now I miss them being as thick as they used to be because they just feel really thin now. And I don't know if that's because I overplucked them when I was younger, or maybe it has something to do with the testosterone. Maybe testosterone also causes you to lose your eyebrows. I don't really know. All I know is that my eyebrows have definitely gotten thinner. So not really sure, or like more sparse, you know? And so I don't really know what that's about. Also, this eyebrow is lower than this eyebrow. So if I was rich and famous, I would get an eyebrow lift, but just on one side. I would just slightly lift this eyebrow up. In fact, maybe I'd get an eyebrow lift on both sides. You know, I'm not sure. But like, it's like, some days it's worse than others. Some days my one eyebrow is noticeably higher than the other eyebrow, and it's kind of like this. But just, you know, just I don't know. It's one of those things where like probably nobody notices but me. But some days my eyebrows are really not even, and it bothers the crap out of me. Another thing that I like about my face is my eyes. I'm a fan of my eyes. Now, depending on the lighting, they look different colors. Like if it's dark, then my eyes look really, really dark. They look basically black. And I like that. I think that looks really cool. But if there's light hitting my eyes, then they look a nice chocolatey brown. And so I really like that. I spent a lot of my life being insecure about the color of my eyes because just like I wanted to be blonde, I also wanted to have blue eyes or green eyes. I thought blue and green eyes were just so beautiful. And I thought brown eyes looked terrible, and I hated brown eyes until Ariana Grande came along, and then I was able to appreciate brown eyes because Ariana Grande has some of the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen ever. They are just gorgeous, and so she has taught me to appreciate brown eyes. Another thing I'm insecure about is the fact that I have a lot of acne. I feel like I mentioned this in probably previous videos, probably the one where I was talking about my insecurities, but it is something I'm insecure about. I'm fully in my 30s, and yet I get acne as though I am still going through puberty. And I think that also has something to do with the testosterone, because before I was on testosterone, I rarely got acne. I almost never got pimples. But now that I'm on testosterone, I just like, it's pimples constantly. Like I always have at least 2 pimples, and it's just kind of frustrating. Currently I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have at least 6 pimples right now that I can see. There's probably even more, but you know, that's just life. Again, I wouldn't give up testosterone for the world, and it's worth it. If being on testosterone means having acne more often, then to me, that's a fair trade-off because it's worth it to be on testosterone. Another thing that I'm kind of insecure about is my facial hair. Now, I really, really wanted a beard when I first started on testosterone. That was like my main goal, is I really wanted to have a beard. I've always loved beards. I think beards are very good looking, and I really was insecure for a long time about how little facial hair I was able to grow. However, as time has gone on, my facial hair has gotten a lot more abundant, and I am able to grow a beard. Currently, as you can tell, I am sporting a mustache. That's my look right now. But usually I have a beard because I just really like the look of beards, and I fought so hard to be able to have a beard. And I have nice thick hair on my chin and my neck. The hair is very thick on my chin and my neck, and also like in the goatee region, it's very thick. But here on the sides of my face, the hair is, when I have a beard, is still very thin. It's still very sparse, and so that's something I'm a little bit self-conscious about, is that I can't grow as thick of a beard as I wish I could, but it's still pretty good, you know, like it's still pretty good. I've seen other trans masculine people who have much less facial hair than I do, and so, you know, I'm pretty lucky. Talking about hair, though, another thing that I'm self-conscious about is how incredibly hairy I am. Every inch of my body is covered in hair. I am a very, very, very hairy person. And again, that is because of the testosterone. But even before I went on testosterone, I was hairier than the average person who was assigned female at birth. Like, I've just always had very thick hair, very dark hair, very abundant hair. Like, I had a little mustache before I went on testosterone, a little bit of chin hair. I had lower back hair. I had a little bit of stomach hair. I was a pretty hairy person even before I went on testosterone. But since going on testosterone, I have become an actual bear. Like, I am so hairy. And as much as that brings me gender euphoria, it also kind of sucks that we live in a society that is so scared of body hair. Like, even though men are it's much more acceptable for men to have body hair than for women, it's still not super acceptable. If you Google hot men, images of hot men, like 99% of them have no body hair. They're just completely smooth, and that is not me. If I wanted to be hairless, I would have to wax my entire body, you know? Like, I'm a very, very hairy person, and again, unfortunately, we live in a society that doesn't seem to appreciate that very much, so I am a little bit self-conscious about that. Something that I like about my body is my teeth. I like that I have fangs. I know a lot of people, when they get braces, after they get their braces off, their dentist or their orthodontist will, like, shave their teeth down so that their teeth are all, like, even. But my orthodontist let me keep my fangs, and I really like my fangs. I really, really like my fangs. Now, something I'm insecure about is the rest of my teeth. My teeth are pretty crooked, and they're pretty yellow because I smoke cigarettes, which, you know, is bad, and I really need to stop smoking cigarettes, but unfortunately I do smoke, and so my teeth are quite yellow. And again, they are very crooked. I did have braces, and my teeth are much, much less crooked than they were before I had braces, but for reasons I don't really want to go into, my retainers were taken from me. It was a whole thing. In 2013, I got kidnapped. The guy who kidnapped me destroyed my retainers, or they got lost because of him. Like, it's a whole story. Don't even worry about it. But the point is, I lost my retainers, and so my teeth are, you know, not straight, and that's sad for me because I spent so many years with braces, and I'm sure my mom's not happy about it either because she spent so much money on giving me braces just for my teeth to not be straight, you know? So that sucks, but it is what it is. Again, at least I have fangs, and I like the fact that I have fangs. Another thing I'm insecure about is my mouth. It's hard to tell right now because I have the mustache, but my lips aren't exactly what society tells me lips are supposed to be. Like, it was much worse before I came out as a man because, women are told that their lips are supposed to look a certain way. And let's just say my lips did not look the way I wanted them to look. I do have a fairly full bottom lip, which I do like. But it's just like something about like my top lip's kind of, it's a little bit crooked. It's just like, it's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's just, for most of my life, I've been self-conscious about my lips. But again, since coming out as a man, I have become much, much less self-conscious about my lips because, it doesn't seem to really matter that much with men. Men's lips can look like, it's, again, society is a lot harder on women and how they're supposed to look versus men. Another thing I'm insecure about is just like how puffy my under eye region is. Like, I've definitely got eye bags, and I imagine that'll just get worse as I get older. I've always been self-conscious about my cheeks because I have like very full cheeks, but not in the way that society has told me they're supposed to be full, if that makes any sense. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to love the shape of my face and to love my big, full, puffy cheeks. I got very big, big cheeks. And it's even more obvious when I lose weight. When I'm skinnier, I just have these like really massive, puffy cheeks. And I always hated that because even when I was at my skinniest, I always looked fatter than I was because I have such a fat face. I have just like a very thick face, just very big cheeks. And so again, I've always been self-conscious about that, but I've learned to love my big cheeks and I actually really like it. Another thing I'm insecure about is the fact that I have no butt. This has definitely gotten worse since going on testosterone, but even before I went on testosterone, I never had much of a butt, which is unfortunate because society really likes big butts, and so I always felt like I had to kind of, and I never had, like, my butt was never the shape that society told me it was supposed to be. So since coming out as a man, I am much less self-conscious about my butt, but men's butts, like, there are many people out there who appreciate male butts, masculine butts, I suppose, and I do not have a nice butt in terms of what society expects a butt to look like. It is very flat, very saggy, it's not great, my butt could use some work. And but it's fine. I'm much less self-conscious about it than I was when I thought that I was a girl, because society is very particular about what it thinks girl butts are supposed to look like, and my butt did not look the way I thought it was supposed to. I am very grateful, though, that I am a very boxy body type. Like, I don't have very big hips. I'm not super curvy, and I like that because it's very gender affirming, and I have a body that I feel like looks like what you would consider a man body to look like, whereas a lot of trans masculine people are very self-conscious because they feel like they have big hips. And again, that's not me. I've always had pretty small hips. I've never been a particularly curvy person, and so that's good. But most of my life I was self-conscious about that because when I thought that I was a girl, obviously I felt like I was built like a man, and it made me very insecure because society told me that that was not attractive. Going back to my face, I forgot to mention my nose. I've always hated my nose because it's very bulbous, it's very large, especially when I was at a lower weight. When I've been skinnier in my life, my nose looks absolutely huge on my face. And this was worse before I came out as trans. When I thought that I was a girl, again, girls are told that they're not supposed to have big noses. It's just, society doesn't like large noses on women or on anyone really, but specifically, especially on women. So before I came out, I was really, really self-conscious about my nose, and I always wanted to get my nose done to make it smaller. But I've learned to love my nose as big as it is. I think it's a defining feature of my face. I don't think I would look like me without the nose that I have, and so I actually really like my nose now. And the last thing I'm going to talk about today is my lower back tattoo. I am self-conscious about my lower back tattoo. I got it when I was 19, back when I did not realize that I was a trans man, and it's a very feminine tattoo. And I know that it doesn't take away from my masculinity. It doesn't make me any less of a man to have a lower back tattoo, but I'm insecure about it. Like, I don't like it when people see me topless unless I'm on the internet, because like if I were to go to a public pool, I would not take my shirt off because of my lower back tattoo. I would be scared that people would judge me for it. And so there's that. It's a nice tattoo. Like, I like the tattoo. It just doesn't feel like it fits me anymore. After posting this video, I'm probably going to think of like a dozen more things that I could have talked about in this video, but I feel like this video is long enough, so I'm going to leave it at that. I know that I spent more time talking about the things I'm insecure about than I did talking about things that I like about my body, but truth be told, there are a lot of things that I don't like about my body. There are a lot of things I'm insecure about. There aren't that many things that I like about my body. I like my flat chest. I guess I should probably mention that, because that took a lot of effort. I had to get chest surgery to remove my breasts, and surgery sucks. It was I won't say it was an awful experience, but it wasn't a fun experience. And so I'm glad that that's over with, and I am very proud of my flat chest. In fact, my chest is flatter than the chests of a lot of cisgender men who are my size, because obviously I'm fat, and so when men are fat, they will oftentimes have man boobs. And so I see a lot of men who are my size who have man boobs, and so it makes me happy that I have such a flat chest, because even if I was a cisgendered man, I would probably have bigger boobs than I currently do, and because of my gender dysphoria, I can't handle having boobs. I do not want boobs. I do not like boobs. I mean, I like boobs on other people, but I do not like the idea of having them. And so, again, I'm very, very fortunate that I have such a flat chest. I have just like a very, very, very flat chest, and I really like my chest. So, yeah. But anyways, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Stay frosty. Bye.